If you're on a backpacking trip and you're trying to cover some ground, your campsites are not going to be the prettiest places that you're going to come up on. Like a lot of times, if you're in a national park, you're not allowed to camp right at the look-offs or right at the best places. And so your campsite is like an average spot to hang out. So by doing the quick start, getting up, getting moving, getting out of camp, you're just not wasting your day at one of the less cool places that you could be at in the day. So I think that's a huge time saver and a huge benefit to doing the 20-mile day. The author talks about because what Tyler's getting at here is you have more time to spend during the middle of the day where you want to spend it. Mike or Don, the author of this, he talks about how he'll take an hour-long siesta in the middle of the day. Like he has enough time on one of his breaks to just literally lay down in the dirt and sleep for an hour, right? If he chooses to. Mm-hmm. I think that's the benefit of this is you could sit at a vantage point for an hour. You could sit by a lake and fish for an hour, still get the miles in, still get 20 miles in by just breaking up the day this way and getting comfortable with, let's say, I think the biggest thing you have to get comfortable with is hitting the trail before breakfast and hiking after dinner. Yeah, and to me, the hiking after dinner is the biggest benefit of the whole thing. Although I do really enjoy that we have our meals at very scenic places now. Like basically everywhere we go, we're perched on the edge of a cliff looking over a huge basin or down into a canyon or something, because you have that opportunity to set your meal time at a really cool place. And if you're planning ahead, you can usually find an awesome place to do it. But for me, the biggest benefit of the whole thing is being able to have dinner at 5 or 5:30 or even 6 and just get a good solid rest and then get some calories in so that those last few miles in the day, you're not dragging and you're not creating a calorie deficit that then you're going to carry into the next day. Because if you're doing a 4 or 5 day trip, if you don't eat until you get to camp at 7 or 8, you're going to have a calorie deficit for that day. And then you're going to sleep and you're going to carry that lack of energy from that first day into the next day and into the next day. And you're going to drag more and more from day to day and feel like you can do less and less. And that will affect your entire trip. So for me, getting those calories in the evening, finishing the day off strong, really sets you up for the next day and helps you to have the energy that you need when you need it.
Yeah, when you're building a deficit on a trip or a trail or whatever, it's almost impossible to dig your way out of those holes without a lot of experience or having an adequate amount of time. Because typically what you have to do is lower your exertion level. So if you build yourself a deficit in hydration, you may have to slow down or stop, for half a day or something to really reset yourself. Same with calories, right? Because it all compounds. When you're at altitude, for instance, and you start to overexert and you start to lose your appetite, and then suddenly you don't want to eat. You went too long between eating and you overexerted and you hit a calorie wall, and suddenly your body doesn't want to eat. And so then getting out of that calorie wall is pretty much impossible unless you slow down. Unless you let your body rest or reset, or you get down from elevation or something like that. And so it's 100 times better to be ahead of this than to build any kind of a deficit. And it keeps you feeling way better on trail.